bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-da-da-da bum bum ba-dum ba-ba-dum dum bum dun 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 bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-dum ba-ba-dum dun 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 da dun da da dum ba da dun da dun dun da da dun dun bum ba da dum ba da dun da dun dun da da dun dun da dun da da dum bum bum ba dun 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 dun. Hello, my friends. Welcome. Every Monday night, this is what we do. This is what we do. We meet every Monday night at 8 o'clock. Excuse me, Eastern time. My name is Joette Calabrese, and I'm here to do one thing, and that is to discuss homeopathy, to teach you what I know, to try to encourage you to do as much learning as you possibly can, to skill yourself up, to own as many homeopathic medicines as you can. I don't sell remedies, just so you know. That's not, and I don't get any kickbacks. But I want you to know that I'm here for you. I want to teach you. I want you to learn on your own. I want you to learn in study groups. And so for those of you who do know me, welcome, my old friends. I see you all here. It's wonderful to see you. Yep. Hi, Leanne. Merry Christmas, my friends. Happy Hanukkah. It's a beautiful time of year. Hi, Carolyn from Louisiana. I lived in Baton Rouge for a short period of time. I love that part of the country. Love it. Love it. Hi, Jody. Hi, Debbie. Hi, Ellen. Hi, Jill. Aaron. Wonderful. Hello from Wichita. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. it's the Gulf Coast. You bet. Merry Christmas from Wyoming. From White House, Texas. I love to see where everyone's from. I know this might be boring. Hello from India, Jay Shri. Welcome. Nice to see you. Yeah, we have, there are a lot of Indians who follow. Hello from Toronto. Hello, Alice. Conchetta. I love the name Conchetta. I had an aunt, Conchetta. It's a wonderful thing. Gulf Coast of Alabama, Catherine says. I love to see where everyone's from because it gives us a sense of unity, don't you think? Hello from Maine. It gives us a feeling that we are connected, doesn't it? It's a wonderful feeling. I wish I could see you all. I know you see me, of course, but I wish I could see you too. And that's what I do that's what we're doing in my academy. Hello from Ohio, Ocala, Florida, Utah, Houston, Maine. I wonder if they've got snow up in Maine. You got snow yet? Arizona, Michigan, Massachusetts, Charlotte, North Carolina, Ohio, West Bend, Wisconsin, Madison. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. It is the most wonderful time of the year, isn't it? It's magical. It is a good time. I was just planning my Christmas Eve dinner. Being Sicilian American, we eat fish. Generally, there are 7. You prepare 7 fishes, or that's one way to do it. Another way is, and I know some people are going to, this is going to be an EU for some people. I've made eel. Yes, eel is a traditional Sicilian meal. Eel, the meal of eel. But I don't think I'm going to make eel. I end up being the only one eating it. The rest of my family will try it. They'll have a little bit, but then it's a lot of work. So I'll probably make fish. I'll make calamari and maybe different kinds of, maybe if I can get some smelt. It's a little early for smelts, or late, however you look at the year. But I'll make fish for Christmas Eve, and I'm looking forward to it. I already made my pizzelles for dessert. I've given them to friends and neighbors. I still have one more neighbor left to share them with. And I might, if I can find some time this weekend, I might make some cannoli. Now, I don't buy the cannoli shell. I'm sorry. For those of you who like buying the cannoli shell, I do not like the texture, and I don't like the taste of cannoli shell that are pre-made. First of all, they use cheap oils. I've never found one that uses real lard, real butter for frying. Number two, they're too thick. I like mine on my tubes very, very thin and crispy. And third is, I taste vanillin. Not vanilla, I taste vanillin in cannoli shells that are purchased. It's not for me. So if I make cannoli this Christmas, I will only stuff my own. I'm not stuffing a store-bought cannoli shell. All right, my friends, let's talk about pain. Tylenol, acetaminophen. Tylenol is a nicer name, right? Than acetaminophen. Acetaminophen sounds more, hardcore, chemical. So why not just, that's of course the category, but nonetheless, they often come up with nice names for these drugs. The one that I get the biggest kick out of is Lunesta. Oh, Sonata. It sounds musical. So what harm could it do if you take Lunesta? So we're not talking about Lunesta tonight, but I can't resist. Because I've been in marketing, I was in sales and marketing at an independent television station for a few years, and then also a short stint at NBC, an NBC affiliate in Buffalo, New York. I know how important it is to come up with the right words, the right names for drugs, etc. I'll just tell you a funny story. When I was working at the independent television station, we had somebody who came to the station, and I got the account. It was someone who had manufactured a lock that goes on your door. And it was something that you put over the door itself, and then once it closes, I can't remember how it fastened, but it was it seemed like a pretty decent lock. And you'd be safe in your house. So they wanted to sell it for, I think it was, I don't know, $29.95. And they just weren't selling. They weren't selling. So we increased the price to, I think, $169 per item. And that's when they started to sell. So if we think that we're not psychological beings, we are wrong, my friends. We all are. It was reassuringly expensive. How good could it be if it was under $30, right? We wanted something that was really going to work. So, or the buyers, but we are part of that. We're only human too. And they started to sell. Reassuringly expensive, huh? Anyway, let's talk about what we do when we don't have a product, a specific drug that's on the market. And for most of you, those of you who've been following me for some time, my guess is you don't have Tylenol in your medicine cabinet. I hope you don't. And there was a time years ago when I decided I was going to cut loose completely. Cold turkey, that was it. No more drugs. I was not going to take them any longer because I was just as sick with them, and perhaps even sicker than I was without them. So I went cold turkey. Now, I am not suggesting that people do this because every circumstance is different. We can't just go cold turkey on many kinds of drugs. So, but if someone is generally well, and then, let's say it's a child, and the child gets a fever, and we give them something like these drugs, we are doing something more than just dealing with bringing the fever down and pain management. By the way, that term pain management is not a homeopathic term generally. There are circumstances in which we may need to manage pain, at the end of life, we want to manage pain. But for someone young, middle-aged, or even older, even quite older, we're not looking to manage, we're looking to uproot. Because pain, my friends, and inflammation and fever, for which someone would use a chemical drug, would use a chemical drug for, is are symptoms. They are signs. They are signs that something is wrong. What's wrong? Well, we may not know. Is it a flu? Is it a virus? Is it pneumonia on its way? What is this? Is it bronchitis? 2 stages away from bronchitis? What is this? We don't really know. But what we do know is that we have symptoms. And we don't like to eliminate symptoms in homeopathy. We like to use symptoms. They will naturally be eliminated when we use them to determine which medicine is best chosen. So let's liken it to, there's a fire on the stove. Flames everywhere. And the alarm is going off. Meep, 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 meep. The dog is screeching. It's loud. He's howling. It's very loud. It's terrible. Got to close. So somebody get up on that ceiling and get rid of that sound. Just tear down the alarm system. Okay, we're done. Wait a minute, are we done? What about the fire? What about the damage from the fire? What about what's still going on? That, my friends, is one of the best analogies I can give you for using a pain reliever in milder circumstances, not end of life. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about someone who has severe chronic pain, although the homeopathy can address that as well. Let's talk about using these drugs for children or young adults or middle-aged adults because they have a fever, because they have aches and pains. They were fine yesterday. Now today they feel sick. Let's talk about it for an acute condition. Let's at least start with that, shall we? So, if we take that fire alarm down and throw it into the trash and leave the fire going, that means we are ignoring what is really going on. It is just a sign, that loud noise. That's the same thing with pain, inflammation, and fever. So what we want to do is not suppress it with a drug or manage it. We want to uproot it. We're talking about acutes right now. An acute condition means it has a natural beginning and a natural end, such as a cold, a fever, an ear infection, a strep throat, a cough, conjunctivitis, otitis media, all of those kinds of things. So what we want to do is to uproot the condition. And that's what homeopathy's strong suit is. It's all about uprooting conditions. Now, just because we're using the pain to determine which medicine to choose doesn't mean we're treating that pain. We are using that pain. It is, in effect, a gift. Yes, our suffering can be a gift. Their suffering can be a gift because it will tell us what to use. So, I want you to think in terms of symptoms for specific conditions. So let's use this. Child has got a fever, screaming fever, high. What's high? What's a high fever, by the way? It's not 101. It's not 102. 103 is not high. I know people say, he's spiked to 103. No, that's not a spike. 105 is a spike. 103 is moderate fever. 104, we're getting higher. 105 is high. The fever is a representation of something that's going on. What is it? Do you really need to know exactly what it is? Not really, not necessarily. You may, if this child has been sick time and time again, and he may inch, let's say, towards bronchitis, and you're concerned about that. But if you use the medicine that is specific for an infection, an ear infection, and let's say, and a fever that is, say, 104. If we use that medicine for those conditions, that homeopathic medicine, it will just lay it to rest. It'll just drop it down.
And one of the best medicines we have for a high-ish fever, 104, 105, is belladonna. And it also has a great deal of pain associated with it and inflammation in general. Now, we don't use belladonna in gross form, now do we? But when doctors look up belladonna and they say, you use belladonna for this child, they look up belladonna. And of course, it's poisonous in its gross form, but we don't use gross form medicines. We use potentize. What's potentize mean? It's diluted 30 times to the 100th power. By the time it's diluted, and in between it's succussed, it's done a very specific way in a specific pharmacological, scientific method. Once it is done properly and we purchase it in a little blue bottle or whatever pharmacy we choose to purchase from, and we administer that to the child, that pain, that fever will drop. If it comes back, we return to the medicine again. It might be every 3 hours it needs to be used. Sometimes some people like to use it every 15 minutes. They call it loading. I don't know. Sometimes that works. Sometimes it doesn't work. You can use it more frequently. The more the child is in pain, the closer we administer the medicine. Or it doesn't have to be a child. It can be an adult. We have a lot of pain remedies. Belladonna is one of the ones that we use for high-ish fever and for, let's say, an ear infection. Now, let's say the fever is not so high. Okay, that's 101, 102. It's not a big deal. But the pain is horrendous in the ear. And the child is quite irritable. Very irritable. Fractious is one of my favorite words to describe the use of this medicine. No matter what you give this child, she or he is not happy. Pick me up, it hurts, it hurts. You pick up the child, no, put me down. Okay, no, pick me up. They can't figure out what it is that they need. They know they need something. They can't describe what it is. And this can be in an adult as well. Help me do something to make me feel better. No, that's not good enough. No, that's not good enough. So what you're looking for is someone who cannot be satisfied, and the pain is so over the top, and it's seemingly over the top of what the condition is. My gosh, could an ear infection be so deathly painful? I suppose it could be, but it seems as though they're overemphasizing the pain. And I don't believe that someone who needs this medicine that I'm teaching you about right now, chamomilla, is someone who's lying. They're not lying. They're just experiencing the pain on a much deeper level. Chamomilla. I love it in 200. Can we use it in a 30? Certainly. I like 200. That's my preferred potency for this kind of a situation. How about pain of a tooth coming in? Let's say it's a 28-year-old young woman and her wisdom teeth are coming in. Everyone said, we got to manage this pain. We got to use acetaminophen. We got to use Tylenol until we can get into that dentist, and then the dentist will surgically remove it. Oh, it's not needed. I'm sorry. It is needed. We need our wisdom teeth. They are important. I don't think God made a mistake and said, maybe the tonsils are no good. We don't need those. We don't need the foreskin. We don't need the wisdom teeth. We don't need the appendix. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And just because it's not fully understood, although it is now, for each of those tissues and organs in the body, that does not mean that just because there's ignorance in modern medicine that we accept that. I'm calling it the crapification of medicine. Excuse my guttural speech, but it's just such a perfect word. The crapification of modern medicine. There are ways that have been known for decades, if not centuries, how to treat these kinds of conditions. But medical practitioners don't know about them. And so they assume they don't exist. And the people who train the medical practitioners is the big industry, right? Solzhenitsyn, Alexander Solzhenitsyn, who was a prisoner of war. He was a prisoner of war. No, I guess he was more he was in a labor camp in Russia and was released, I want to say the early 70s, late 60s maybe. And he wrote a very powerful book on it. He said, he's a luminary as far as I'm concerned, of sorts. Alexander Solzhenitsyn, he said, they lie to us. We know they're lying to us. They know that we know that they're lying to us. We know that they know that that they're lying to us. But they still lie to us. And worst of all, we still believe them. We must stop believing this. We must find another way. We must empty our medicine cabinets of Cheez-Its, candy, cookies. Is your pantry full of organic products? Is your refrigerator full of really high quality yogurt, full fat yogurt from your local farmer? I hope so. You have bone stock on your back of your stove now at this time of year? You should have that bone stock cookie on the back of your stove. If you can't, then you buy it in a glass jar. Buy it from a local farmer. We should not have Cheez-Its and cheap potato chips and candy in our pantry, just like we should not have these synthetic drugs in our medicine cabinets. We need to start rethinking what we buy. My guess is most of you are already there. But if you're not all the way there and you're only partially there, I want to give you the gumption to go that far. If there are Cheez-Its in your pantry and you get hungry and you're in a hurry and you have that hunger comes on good and strong, guess what you're going to eat? If you have Tylenol in your medicine cabinet and you get a headache, guess what you're going to use? But if you put the effort into stocking your kitchen with good food, with good free-range eggs and raw milk if you can procure it, and good lamb, it's good butter, free butter from cows that are totally free-ranging, cultured butter too. If that's what's in your kitchen, get that and flip it over into your medicine cabinet and do the same kind of clean out. It will force you to become aware of what you need to know. So let's go through some medicines. I don't want to spend too much time on philosophy. I want to talk about some other pain remedies. We have some big ones. Now let's talk about not being acute, okay? It's not an acute medicine or an acute condition. This is a chronic condition. Someone has arthritis. Let's talk about osteoarthritis. It shows up only once in a while. Perhaps it shows up in the winter and it's cold and it's damp and the hands start to ache and the hips aching or the back or wherever it might be. One of the best medicines we have for arthritis, in which we are on first movement in the morning, we're ache, pain, ow, 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 each step and each movement. And then as we move or as we stretch, people tell me all the time, if I don't stretch in the morning, I'm going to have creaky, painful joints. I've got a better idea. Doesn't mean you shouldn't stretch, but I got a better choice. We're going to use a medicine that will change that, not manage it, change it for most people. And that's Rhus tox, R-H-U-S, tox, T-O-X, toxicodendron, but we use toxic for short. Rhus tox, R-H-U-S, tox, T-O-X. And I love that medicine in 30 twice daily or 200 twice daily. I even have used it personally in a 1M from time to time. The definition of how to use Rhus Tox is that first movement is achy and painful, and and that can also be that achy, painful, cold feeling, tired feeling in the muscles. This can come from arthritis. It can also come from a cold, my friends. If you're catching a cold and you feel achy everywhere, think of Rhus Tox. And I like 30 for that if it's a cold coming on. Now, let's look at another medicine that is not better from limbering up as Rhus Tox is. Rhus Tox feels better as long as they stretch, as long as they work out a little bit. There's improvement. It may not be perfect, but there's some improvement. Now we have another medicine that I love, and that is Bryonia. 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 And I love Bryonia in a 30th potency. I think it's excellent. It's great for headaches. It's great for joint pains. It's good for painful chest from coughing during a cold. But here is the distinguishing characteristic that you need to be able to hang your hat on, because if you don't use this as your indicator, you'll choose the wrong medicine. It must be worse from movement. Not first movement and then better limbering up like Rhus Tox. No, this is for every movement. They get a headache just moving their eyes. It hurts. They have joint pain, just moving a tiny bit, it hurts. So they're apt to be perfectly still. If they chew, they're eating their meal and it hurts, whatever it is, the throat, the chest, whatever it might be, the back. If it's worse from movement, if it's worse from chewing, from talking, those are movements, right? From any kind of turning over in bed. Oh, ow, ow, ow. Now that could also, turning over in bed could still be Rhus Tox. But you know that with Rhus Tox, that person gets up and starts limbering up, and as long as they stretch, they feel improved somewhat. That's not so with Bryonia. Bryonia is worse on movement regardless of how much they limber up. I got my husband to switch from baby aspirin to arnica, and years of stomach pain vanished. You got it, Tracy. You got it, my friend. You bet. This is how this works. Yep. I'm looking at what people are telling me now. I'd love to hear your responses. Been trying for 3 years to find homeopathy that helps headache instead of Excedrin. Still haven't figured out that one. Well, let me tell you, I have an entire course, and I'm not telling you that you must do this, but do go on my blog, look under headaches. There are many different kinds of headaches. Is it here in the sinuses? Back of the head? Is it just above the ears? Is it on top of the head? Does it feel like it's... Headaches can be a little more complex, but they can be done. I have a course called Pain, Make It Stop. And the way you find that course, it's an online course that you purchase. You would own it. And you go to Joette's Learning Center. Should you be interested in going into this much more deeply. But we're going to talk about pain for the next few weeks. I may indeed give you many weeks of pain information so that you don't have to buy a course. Look, this is not about always selling courses, although that is how I make my living. I want you, my real focus here is to get you hooked. Why? Because if we don't make this change in our lives, they're coming in on closer and closer, and the drug industry is coming in tighter and tighter and tighter, and we must link arms across the earth and know how to use these medicines and keep healing in the home where it belongs. It doesn't mean we can't ever use, or we should never use, a medical doctor. Of course not. It doesn't mean we never go to a chiropractor. I love chiropractic. It doesn't mean we don't go to a rolfer. I like rolfers. I like body workers, physical therapists. I like that whole segment of medicine. But there's so much that can be done at home with just a handful of homeopathic medicine. Maybe not a handful. 50? 100? Yes. Okay, I think people are helping each other, which is really good. What was the remedy for the wisdom teeth coming in? Chamomilla. Chamomilla, spelled C-H-A-M. Chamomilla. Chamomilla, just like it's a flower, right? It's the flower that grows in the wayside. It grows in meadows. I used to pick chamomilla flowers and make tea from it. Great as a tea, wonderful as a botanical, better as a homeopathic. Yes, belladonna was mentioned in Anne of Green Gables. Always found that so cool. It's also mentioned in Little Women. Because that's when, let me just mention this and I'll dash off. Educated women in the 1800s throughout the US and Europe knew homeopathy. Now, excuse me for saying educated, but those were the women who were helping others. These are the women who took their jobs as mothers and grandmothers very seriously. Not that anyone else didn't, but they had the finances and they had the ability to read and they had the free time to learn to do this. And so I'm trying to make this so that you don't necessarily need a grand education. I can give you a good amount of information here. You do need to put time into it, and you certainly need to put some effort into it. Alrighty, my friends, I have to go on. We'll talk about more pain issues next week and inflammation conditions. And I wish you all the most joyous Christmas. Happy Hanukkah, my friends. Merry Christmas. God bless you all. See you next week.